This video, because the title is kind of ambiguous, is just to address the recent complaints that NBA fans have had about the 65 game rule and also just the recent breakout 70-point game performances that are starting to become a lot more normalized. Starting by looking at the 65 game rule, I understand why people are upset, although I don't think it's as big of an issue as anyone is saying. Someone brought up a really good point as I'm just scrolling through Twitter that this is kind of something that's already been in place. It's an unwritten rule, is what it used to be. Is if a player doesn't play enough games, you kind of just say, all right, well, I mean, like Kevin Durant plays 40 games, like we can't put him on the All NBA team over some people who have similar numbers, right? Like maybe he gets like All NBA third team because he's Kevin Durant, but at the end of the day, he's not taking that many people's spots because he just wasn't available. Availability really is the best ability, and I think players like Joel Embiid, as skilled as they are, if you aren't able to reach a certain threshold of games, I mean, we're talking about 65 games, okay? Like 17 games over an entire NBA season is a piss load of games to miss. Like that's a lot of time. I'm not going to do any stupid like this is like if you missed this many days at your actual job. Like the NBA is a different job. Obviously, it's more physically taxing. Obviously, whatever, right? But the point still stands that if you do not participate in enough games, you should not be even considered for these like high prestige awards because there's players who are coming in and playing all this time. And again, people are acting like if Embiid plays 63 games, that the Sixers aren't going to appeal it, and he isn't going to be the NBA MVP anyway. You know, like if he's close enough, teams can appeal it. Like that's literally a part of the rule. You can appeal it, and you can say, hey, torn meniscus. I don't think he has a torn meniscus. Shams actually totally redacted that, so that was kind of weird. But they don't really know how serious it is. Regardless, he is actually injured. He's not ducking smoke. I just think people are acting like the 65 game rule is like somehow giving people awards that they don't deserve. Like it is actually like the complete opposite. If the NBA is allowing a player who did not participate in more than 75% of the games, how are they the most valuable? How are they the most valuable player? That doesn't make any sense. Like you aren't valuable if you aren't on the court. And people do this thing where they look up the team record with the player and without the player. Like, oh, when they don't have them, they suck. No shit. That's every NBA team that is missing their best player. Like, big fucking whoop. The Sixers are worse when Embiid doesn't play than when he does. It would be incredibly, incredibly bad if they were better without their best player. That would say a lot about him. You can't say, like, every single player that is the best player on their team, when out, the team is going to, over like a good sample size, be worse when their best player is not playing. At the end of the day, the most valuable player in the NBA is someone who contributes to the most amount of winning. And if you miss more than fucking 17 games in an NBA season, you weren't even able to contribute to winning in 17 of the 82 games. 17 games, you were in street clothes. So how are you supposed to tell me that you're more valuable than a guy who played 10 more games than you, resulting in 8 more wins? And yeah, maybe his numbers are a little bit worse than yours. You played 60 games. The amount of rest that you got that these other guys didn't get, the back-to-backs that you skipped out on that these other people played through, yeah, their numbers are going to be slightly worse. This conversation was so relevant a while ago. I don't think anybody actually had it, but I remember watching the Celtics broadcast. Yes, I'm a Celtics fan, and I remember Brian Scalabrine talking about Tatum versus LeBron. This was a couple years ago. I think both of them were averaging 30. So not maybe that was just last season. Maybe it was 2 seasons ago. Regardless, LeBron was averaging a little bit more scoring than Tatum was. And Scalabrine pointed out that LeBron is sitting out a ton of games. Like, of course, LeBron's going to average 35 or 30 points a game. Like, of course, LeBron is going to average that much because he doesn't have to play on backs to backs. He doesn't have to play if he isn't feeling 100%. Yeah, I know the dude's 38. I'm not saying that his numbers aren't impressive. I'm just saying It is a lot easier to achieve more when you play less. If Tatum plays like 78 games, like the amount of total contribution that he has given his team makes him more valuable than someone who played 18 games less than that. That's just simple math. And I don't care about your per game averages. I really don't. I don't for so many reasons, but specifically per game is only relevant if you're playing the same amount of games. If you are not contributing the same numbers for the same amount of time, like let's say two guys have the same amount of numbers, right? Like 30 points each, like 10 rebounds, assists, whatever, and the determining factor is one dude plays 15 more games than the other person. There you go. There's your deciding factor. That dude did what the other guy did more times, like consistently, without missing time, without being banged up, like whatever. That is just life. That's tough. Yes, there's hard injuries. Yes, it's part of the sport. Yes, it sucks. You know what else sucks? Being a fan, going to a game, and your favorite player isn't playing because they're resting. And I really don't want to come off as the entitled fan here because that is just the most nauseating take you can give of, well, what about the fans? The fans paid good money, okay? Like let's keep it a buck. Let's say you're a middle class, lower income, whatever type of family, and you get your kids, take the whole family out, Christmas present, like this is a big deal, and then all of the stars are not playing. Like all the players that you paid money to go see play basketball in person are not playing in the game. You see it all the time. And of course, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. I'm just saying there's a serious difference between a player being injured and unable to play because they're literally hurt, and a player just not playing because, it's Charlotte, whatever. What the hell kind of mentality is that? And I think a lot of this has to do with the Kobe mentality. You know, Kobe was so adamant on playing through any injury that he had that it was possible to play through because he knew somewhere up in the rafters was someone who was watching him play for the first time, someone who had Christmas tickets or was just there to see him. And he felt an obligation to that fan to go and perform because you're an entertainer. That's part of your job. And again, not a super popular opinion. I'm just saying, like, you are not entitled to the award because you're good at basketball. Like the incentives for the All NBA and whatever, like all the potential contract bonuses you get for making those teams, you are not entitled to that just because you play good basketball. You need to be healthy. You need to be available to win those awards. And I think that's only fair because as many players as you think deserve it, even though they might have gotten hurt or gotten an unlucky injury or whatever, there's also players that have been working their ass off, didn't miss any games, still put up great numbers, and probably deserve that award that year more. Just to wrap that, I think that it's very, very fair to expect NBA players to play 65 games out of an 82 game season. The other topic that I wanted to talk about because people are complaining about for some reason is the scoring. And specifically, obviously, a couple 70-point games happened in a really short time span, and people were freaking out like, the game's, it's over, like, whatever, dude. Like, yeah, okay, there's people putting up big numbers right now. Big whoop. Like people act like an NBA player isn't, like even just a regular NBA player isn't still like one of the best basketball players on this planet. Like Brian Scalabrine's famous quote of like, I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. And he was right. I also saw JJ Redick get really heated saying that like all of the NBA like rules that are being put in place favor the defense, and he's saying that like the offense isn't favored, and to that, I say I completely disagree. I could not disagree more. And I watched that video. I watched it all the way through. I know what rules he's talking about. Just about mostly the foul baiting, all of those benefiting the defense. I mean, let's talk about a rule that has been changed that benefits the offense first, to give him an example, because no one did. The take rule, pretty obvious. When someone team is about to go on the break, you can't foul them to stop their break. You can't give a foul because if you give a foul, it's a flagrant foul and the other team shoots a free throw. So nobody does that anymore. No one does the take foul. You want to know what happens when you don't have a take foul? Everybody runs all the time. The pace of play shoots up. What happens when the pace of play shoots up? Scoring shoots up because people are moving faster and taking more fucking shots. That's naturally what is going to happen when you do that. And it's also crazy to me that people literally just disregard information like Adam Silver talking about the type of basketball that he wants to create because guess what people want to watch? They want to watch the ball go into the hoop. They want to watch scoring. I am a defensive guy. I love defense. You need it to win a championship. No casual fan wants to watch guys put up bricks. They want to watch Victor Wembanyama chuck up threes and make some crazy shots. They want to watch step back threes go in. They want to watch logo shots. They want to see the cool scoring shit. No one cares about the physical player who hinders the most skilled basketball player on the planet. Nobody casually that likes basketball wants to watch that. I do not disagree that I like a little bit of defense. I do like a little bit of defense in my game of basketball when I watch it. I like it. Everybody likes it, but you have to cater to the casual fan. And also, people act like the regular season isn't refed completely differently from the playoffs. The playoffs are refed in a completely different format. So for all of you nerds who are talking about this bullshit with the regular season and oh, this is how many 70-point games, talk to me about playoff scoring. Tell me a 60-point game that has happened in the playoffs since Michael Jordan. Right? So it's not actually a problem. It's not actually a problem at all. It's actually totally fine. And when you see a guy like Luka or Dame or Donovan Mitchell or, whoever go off for 70, Embiid too, obviously, don't want to discredit him, but it's like, what? Are you suggesting that they did not just have a brilliant performance, chuck up a ton of shots, make a ton of threes, like whatever, like that wasn't skillful? Like it's all about the skill. The offensive players are getting better. That's natural. What else are people supposed to do to improve on defense? How is a person supposed to get better defensively to accommodate for, the increase in offense? Like people are becoming more skilled offensively. They're learning different types of moves on dribbling. They're learning how to kind of manipulate the NBA rule book. And yes, there are some rules that favor the defense that have been put in place, but are they actually being followed? Do you watch JJ Redick? I have a question. Do you actually watch Austin Reaves play basketball? Every single Austin Reaves game violates every rule they've put in place. Oh, you can't like get someone in the air and then jump into them to initiate the contact while you're shooting. God, Austin Reaves never does that, does he? Oh, wait. He does all of those types of rules. The little get behind you and then fall over, like all the flopping that they said that they would give text for. Who has ever, you know what they give text for? Jason Tatum, after he dunks the ball, hanging on the rim an extra second so he doesn't break his fucking spine. That's what they give text for. So get the fuck out of here with all of this bullshit about, oh, the defense is favored because of all these rules that the refs don't follow. The refs don't follow the fucking rules. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The NBA can institute any rule they want so that the fans stop complaining about it. But at the end of the day, do the referees actually abide by these rules? No. So it doesn't matter. The point is that none of it matters. None of it is a big deal. And I know that's kind of ironic for me, like getting all like worked up about it and speaking very passionately to then say like it doesn't matter. But I'm saying it doesn't matter in the sense that literally none of this actually matters come playoff time. None of the scoring games that you see are going to happen. You know what the record for game 7 scoring was? Got set last year 51. 51 postseason record for game 7. Game 7 ever. Ever. Do you know how rare 50-point games are in the playoffs? They're pretty rare. The only time that it was seriously like a huge like explosion was in the bubble, if you really think about it. So it's crazy that everyone wants to discredit the bubble when that's clearly some of the best basketball that was ever being played. And I get it, it's the Los Angeles Lakers bias. And, as much as I hate the Lakers, I feel like you have to give them the credit for the bubble. But, that's not even what this video is about. So whatever. At the end of the day, the thing that just irritates me is how, you know, in the moment these people that criticize the NBA are living. They're just acting like these problems are so out of control and like the game is broken and everything is bad. It's like, dude, it's just the regular season. It's just so fans will be interested and watch and talk about the game. The big scoring nights are still like completely under control. We are never seeing a 90 point, 100-point game. Never. Someone gets to 75, don't you think they're going to start sending double teams? At that point, it's about pride. You know? Like the dude gets to 75, we're not letting this motherfucker get 80. They're going to knock his jaw off before they let him get 80. There's no shot of it. Zero chance. To all of the people that are really, really upset about these rules and these changes in the 65 game thing and whatever, like, oh, scoring's out of hand. It's not. It's totally under control. And honestly, the game is probably at the most pleasant to watch that it has ever been. And I think we just need to start actually appreciating that.